to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Tuesday, March 31st. Jason Moore, Mike Wright. I'm Andy Holloway. Welcome in, one and all. The Fantasy Footballers back with you. Fresh episode. So fresh.
Fresh.
That's it, Mike. Fresh episode.
We're talking rookies today, man.
That is pretty fresh.
Yeah. It's as fresh as you can.
I mean, we have not really dug into these players on the main podcast yet.
Right.
So, I mean, we're talking fresh.
As fresh as it gets. The NFL draft is, it's almost April. And the draft is in April. And then these players will have new homes. And then there will be a lot of anticipation and expectation for them. And you, as a fantasy player in a redraft league, in a dynasty league, you need familiarity with these names and the expectations and what we believe and what, these two guys have done a lot of episodes of the Dynasty podcast. So you've talked through most of these names leading up to the Combine. Through the Combine weekend, we had our second release of the Dynasty Pass, so post-Combine release of the Dynasty Pass. And now it's time to finally dig in ahead of the draft and talk today quarterbacks and running backs. And then we'll get into wide receivers and tight ends on Thursday.
Man, we really could say quarterback.
We could. Yeah, we
could. Of any year, you could say quarterback and running backs.
Where's Christian Ponder when you need him?
People
are still going to get drafted.
It's quarterbacks. You know what I mean? It's just like a quick on the pluralization.
Away.
So is that like betraying some initial thoughts on Ty Simpson and anybody else?
I think it's more highlighting them.
It's weird. Sometimes it does feel like the NFL does this. They fill the gap that needs to be filled with a player no matter what.
Well, there's needs. I mean, teams need quarterbacks, and so if you're the second best quarterback in this draft class, you're going to get that buzz. You're going to get that first round hype, and
what if he's the second best? So what if it's a boat?
Yeah, the number 2 pick.
So we'll talk through quarterback.
I mean,
today.
There was a lot of hullabaloo last week on the Twitter sphere of a particular personality with a large network and large following who was
strong opinions
alleging that Ty Simpson is better than Fernando Mendoza, and he texted many people who only 2 of them responded negatively.
I don't know how much you want to get into that, but
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I won't get into it, but let's just say that this time of year, maybe this is a lesson for a newer fantasy player, not a seasoned fantasy player, or maybe even a seasoned one. There are a lot of different motivations for news to come out right now all the way to the draft. There's a lot of different motivations, right? You have players, their agents, and their people.
What are they going to talk about? Baseball? Get out of here.
So you've got their agendas, right? Individual player agendas. You've got and agent agendas. You've got teams who have picks in certain spots that different information getting out benefits them on who falls where and what's going to happen. Every year we are shocked in the draft when certain players are drafted at certain spots. That's because we have to literally sift through all the smoke and all the madness. Was it Wandale when he was drafted? That was nobody expected him to go where he went.
But it's just the Giants.
One comes to mind.
Yeah, it's just the
Giants.
Or no, I think you're thinking of Kadarius Toney.
No, you're thinking of Daniel Jones.
Oh yeah.
Might be the Giants.
Yeah, I think it's kind of isolated
to the Giants. But yeah, there's just a lot of misinformation or misdirection right now.
Yeah, intentional misinformation.
Yeah. So,
and then there are the reporters who do have connections and say they are finding out some real stuff. There's also information that is real, like top 30 visits. You could take a look at these teams are constantly bringing in wide receivers or running backs. So there is so much information, but some of it is a straight lie on purpose. And so you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Believe
Gotta
nothing.
find the liars.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of the liars.
Well, I mean, it's all of them. But if you're, we'll give you the example because it's the Giants. The Giants have a running back room that you could go into the season with, assuming health for Cam Skattebo, but all reports are good so far. If the Giants go into the season with Scat, Tracy, and Singletary, that's a perfectly fine.
I would say that's an above average top half running back room in the league.
Checked.
Now, no one on that roster, as much as we love Skattebo, he's not as good as Jeremiyah Love.
Correct.
So we aren't saying that it's not an upgrade for the room to take Jeremiyah Love at 5, but it does the Giants more good for every team behind them to be, the Giants might take Jeremiyah Love at 5.
Correct.
We have to be prepared for that situation. So if Love makes it past the Titans at 4, we better have a package ready to go
send
up
to the Giants,
to trade up and go get Jeremiyah Love because they might take him.
Yeah.
Which
you can't
would
eliminate.
they? I don't know.
Can't eliminate options. That's the number one thing for teams. You cannot take players off your board unless you want to lower your leverage. That's their perception.
Yes.
Sometimes it's probably a little bit ludicrous. Like sometimes you've had the years where somebody has a franchise quarterback already, and they're like, and then they take like Penix. Couple of headlines here before.
Oh man, what a moment!
Before we get into it, the community, you can find it, jointhefoot.com. It's where you can become a Foot Clan supporter. Bonus weekly episodes all year long, including right now when we're down to 2 regular shows a week. Get a bonus episode. Learn more about that at jointhefoot.com. If you're an Ultimate Foot Clan supporter, you also get access to the Ultimate Draft Kit, which means you have access to the Dynasty Pass right now, and the post-combine release will have a post-draft release of the Dynasty Pass as well. Quick question of the day. It's a good one. From that guy, 66199. How come in the offseason you guys reference best ball ADP, which is average draft position?
It is that's a good and a very fair question, and the answer is honestly because those are going on right now. They are happening. Best ball drafts, best ball games, and those games are being played with entry fees. They are being played for money. So that this isn't just, someone's, I got some time to kill. I'm going to go do a mock draft see what team I can build. People are spending actual money to compete in a fantasy football tournament. So that's like the most reliable data of
how are players being considered? This is
how the market is set right now for the value of these particular players. Once we get into the summer months when more and more and more people are filtering back into fantasy football and they're doing their mock drafts, then we switch it over because we want to see what people in redraft are doing. But it's at this time it is our best example because there is money behind it. It doesn't. We do always remind people that wide receivers go way earlier in best ball because that's how that tournament functions.
From a roster construction perspective,
but it's still the order of
when you're looking at wide
position,
receiver 17 versus 22, it's the earliest example we have, and really there isn't even other ADP data other ADP data for normal platforms for just free Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo. It's just garbage data right now.
I'm not mock drafting, and my job is fantasy football.
No, you just can't right now before the draft. But there are players, they go out there and they draft and they play best ball. We've all played best ball, and it is a fun format. It is important to recognize that it's not the same as a redraft league.
Right.
The way that you win in best ball is different. The propensity towards maybe more explosive players maybe changes the gauge a little bit. So I look at it as more of a sentiment check on a player,
that's fair.
Than I do like the specifics of
that's where they're going to end up.
Where they're going to end up. But yeah, once we get into the summer, we'll have actual mock draft data, and we'll be able to reference that. But that's why you hear us talk about it, because it's good to have information on what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Anything else there?
No.
Let's talk some news.
News and notes from around the league.
The cartoon characters at the New York Jets continue to give us a good episode every week. The Jets head coach Aaron Glenn says, quote, "There is no doubt about it. Geno Smith is the Jets starting quarterback." if I were him, I would have said, there is a lot of doubt about this, but Geno Smith is my quarterback. It is just.
What if he does it again? What if he gets, if he were to achieve the number 1 overall pick, does that guarantee that the next year someone that's looking to get, like, I know the way. We've got to sign Geno.
I mean, your odds are very good.
Geno's, I can't believe teams keep believing in me.
So Geno as the starting quarterback.
Yeah, because
a year ago, I'll say this. A year ago, we would have heard this news. It would have been an amazing full circle moment for the Jets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Geno was coming off a pretty competent, good year. We were surprised they couldn't come to an agreement with him in Seattle. Obviously, Seattle made an amazing choice. The Raiders, it didn't work out whatsoever. But a year ago, we would have been like, wow, you know what? Garrett Wilson's got a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, Geno Smith threw for 4,300 yards, looked pretty good, 70% completion percentage. Changing teams wasn't the only reason that it got worse for him. He looked really bad. I mean, his interceptions were
worst quarterback I saw last year, other than Max Brosnan.
Across the board, just terrible.
And Jake Browning.
I was going to throw out Justin Fields.
And Justin Fields.
Okay, so
bottom 5 quarterback Andy saw
but
last
it's just
year.
having said all these things, we can say the phrase Garrett Wilson may have the best quarterback of his career.
It could have been
going into this year.
It could have been much worse for the Jets.
Jason,
wait,
if the Jets were starting Ty Simpson next year, I'd feel worse than Geno Smith.
I don't have
what
the
are all
list
the
in
quarter?
front of
Yeah,
me.
you don't have the.
It's like Zach Wilson.
Okay.
Mike White.
Mike White. Okay, there we go. So not the best. Mike White. He had
Mike White never got to be a real starter.
Flacco for a minute was the best he's had.
Sure,
that was the best run.
But like at that time, Flacco was.
I'm not optimistic about anything with the Jets. I'm not. I just am not.
Yeah.
The Steelers. We get to watch this situation transpire. Art Rooney said he expects Aaron Rodgers to decide whether he wants to re-sign with Pittsburgh before the 2026 NFL Draft.
Cool.
I would
hope.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope that they know what's going on. Right now, do you think Aaron Rodgers will be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2026?
Yes.
I do as well.
There was a time in the offseason I would have probably said maybe not, but right now it feels that way, and they don't have a lot of good options, so he's there.
Aaron Rodgers was so annoyed early in his career with the late game shenanigans of Brett Favre. Oh, is he going to retire? Is he going to walk away? Oh, at the last minute, he's going to sign and hold his franchise hostage. And it's like, that's just what he learned. That's what Dad did. You know, it's like this isn't.
I learned it from you, Dad.
This isn't Aaron Rodgers' fault.
I learned it from you.
This is, the scars of upbringing just coming back full circle.
Look what I can do now.
Yeah, man, you got to break the cycle.
49ers general manager John Lynch says he's, quote, hopeful tight end George Kittle with the Achilles injury will play in week 1.
Okay.
Wow.
Hopeful, it feels like a wishful thing to say.
I would agree with this specific injury, his age. Now, I saw some amazing workout videos. He's doing great stuff on the upper body. But the Achilles is quite the
that's a tough recovery.
Quite the injury to come back from, and I am very skeptical for week 1. If it looks like he's going to play in week 1.
Dude, you need to prepare your analysis as if all the buzz is going to be, he's going to make it. George Kittle's going to be ready week 1.
See, Jason's caught between a rock and a hard place because he's a big Kittle fan.
Yes.
But he's a big fan of not drafting injured players.
Yes.
And he's sitting there going, do I break
my
rules?
No, I think I will be out on George Kittle.
He's also older.
Yeah, he's older, and even if George Kittle ends up getting healthy at some point this season, I do think drafting him, I mean, if he's in the 10th round, okay, sure.
What about
I'll take 2 tight ends and just see if he can come out and surprise. But if he ends up being a, 5th, 6th, 7th rounder,
he won't.
No way.
Mike Evans has an impact in the red zone.
Sure.
In a way that they haven't had a receiver in that department since probably Ayuk 2 years ago. That would factor into my thoughts too. Cameron Wolf saying the Falcons think Michael Penix will be healthy at some point in training camp. That's good. There you go.
At some point in 2026.
Dalton Kincaid's 5th-year option has been picked up by the Bills.
Makes sense.
And Kellen Moore says the team and Chris Olave have had discussions about an extension. He's in the final year of his rookie contract. Boy, why does Olave feels simultaneously like he's in the final year of his rookie contract and also that he's a 16-year veteran? It feels like he certainly had the concussions of a 16-year-old veteran.
Yes, he came in playing like a veteran. He was like just the perfect,
he was ready to go,
veteran wide receiver. And then the amount of injuries he's had, you feel like he's been close to retirement multiple years in a row. So you feel like he's older than he is. But you put his numbers up against Garrett Wilson, and they're better.
All right, that is going to do it for news today. We want to jump into that rookie rundown. Let's take a quick break, and we'll hop right in. All right, it's time.
Hey, rookie. Welcome to the NFL.
Okay, we're jumping in the 2026 rookie class quarterbacks and running backs on today's show. If you can't get enough, we have lots of resources out there. The Dynasty Pass, it's where so much time, effort, all of our rankings, you can go check that out at ultimatedraftkit.com. We have the Dynasty Podcast. All of these prospects have had very in-depth overviews over there on that show. But we want to give all the redraft players, all the players just coming back to fantasy, a general overview about the names you need to pay attention to. Now, you alluded to it. It might just be quarterback. Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first pick in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Raiders are not the only team that needs a quarterback. The Jets, yes, Geno Smith is the answer now, I guess, but not the future. The Browns, Deshaun Watson, probably not the future. The Cardinals desperately need a quarterback for the future. The Steelers, we just talked about what they're figuring out with Aaron Rodgers, and many other teams would love to pick up a talented quarterback. Now, are there talented quarterbacks available? Mendoza's going to the Raiders. That's going to be a foregone conclusion.
Mendoza had a very strong year. I mean, takes Indiana and wins the national championship.
Unbelievable.
72% of his passes, 3,500 yards, 41 touchdowns. Not a nothing burger on the ground. We got, 276 yards in 7 rushing touchdowns. But that is definitely not his superpower. If we're going to get there for Mendoza, it's going to be it'll be on the strength of being a pocket passer, and can he have enough weapons around him? With the Raiders, I don't think they're not there yet. Like Mendoza would be a very surprising top 12 quarterback.
Oh, for fantasy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
for
think,
this first year.
Yeah, I think that would be – I think if he can do a good job learning the game, starting early, his strengths in college, processing defenses.
They've said
he's not an overwhelming athlete.
Right.
He was really good in the clutch, which, throughout the entire season. But I think
clutch, what clutch has he ever even done?
What big games?
What big games?
Yeah.
It's the biggest game of the year. The Raiders have said they want to start someone else over Mendoza for a while. Well, they're not saying Mendoza because they don't give it up. Don't say who the first pick's going to be. So that is built into it. Of do the Raiders want to play someone else? What did I say?
Andy and I were real synced up in our.
We both took a sip at the same time. It was just it was a little weird.
So Mendoza, he's interesting because he's the guy. He's the number one quarterback. For redraft, I don't think people should be expecting much. And then dynasty, it comes down to super flex leagues. Do you have to take Mendoza 101 because of the value of the quarterback when a prospect like Jeremiyah Love will be there? I am on the side of, I'm probably going to take Jeremiyah Love over Mendoza, even a super flex. But I don't know. This weird.
Yeah,
he's the best that we have right now.
Kubiak is coming in to deal with a team that was dead last in yards per game and points per game.
The fact that it's Kubes is a very strong check mark for some development of Mendoza.
Mendoza appears to be a really solid NFL prototypical quarterback. He could be very good for the Raiders and not really great for fantasy. He's not a super mobile, player that's going to go out there and rush for 500, 800 yards that breaks fantasy. And just because a player is drafted with the first overall pick in the NFL draft at quarterback, that does not guarantee success. We don't know about Cam Ward, but you look back at who, Bryce Young, was that the best? Baker Mayfield flamed out from, his first team. You've got Jameis Winston, like far more mid picks at the 101 than the Andrew Lucks and, Cam Newtons and the successes. At least 50-50 if you look back at the last 20 years.
Well, even if you take the Trevor Lawrence path, that's a long wait to fantasy relevance.
He was Mendoza over the last 2 seasons has been perfect in the red zone, 39 touchdowns, no interceptions. We do love that.
That's amazing.
It's just the Raiders team.
That's Rodgers Brady stuff.
And the Raiders can change this in the draft, certainly, but it's like the team, the depth chart as it stands right now. Brock Bowers, elite stud. Right now, the slotted starting wide receivers are the new addition of Jalen Naylor, Trey Tucker, and Jack Besh.
No, it would fall in line if there's a big wide receiver name that goes there. It would certainly make things look a lot better. But maybe that's a year away, too.
Right.
Ty Simpson is the other name that we'll profile today. Really, he's got 1 year.
He's got
at Alabama
15 starts. That is
an A for loyalty, huh?
Right?
He didn't in the NIL era where you're not getting to start. You transfer. He's been playing behind other NFL drafted quarterbacks, and
Bryce Young, Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, exactly. And so he waited his turn, which is not usually the smart thing to do in today's modern NFL. But my goodness, it is very difficult to imagine putting the future of a franchise in the NFL based on 15 starts. We've seen
what
this
about that
happen.
one tweet, though?
We've seen this happen.
What's the tweet?
About him being the best.
Oh.
That tweet's got a lot of authority.
Mitchell Trubisky didn't have a ton of starts. Anthony Richardson didn't have a ton of starts.
I don't think Ty's going in the top 5, though. Like, people will start spreading the stories of, well, the Cardinals take him at 3. I don't think that happens. I think he is a
second round.
No, I think he'll go in the first, but it's going to be like Dart, where maybe the Steelers, where they're picking, they do slot at a point in the draft where it might be worth it, but I don't know if they want to.
Kenny Pickett
2.0, but or the Cardinals trading back into the first if they actually believe in Ty Simpson. That wouldn't be a shocking thing for me. But 15 starts is.
Joe Burrow didn't have a lot of starts.
He had.
Very much the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, and Ty Simpson is not Burrow as a prospect. If for fantasy football specifically, last year, 93 rushing yards.
Mm-hmm.
Now in college is different. Like you can lose yards for sacks and things like that. So, but that's the rushing game you will not get the superpower of the extra points.
Let me put it this way: if there was a team out of those 5, we know Mendoza is going to go to the Raiders. So out of the 4, Jets, Cardinals, Browns, and Steelers, it seems like the Cardinals and Steelers would be at the top of the list of teams that you'd want to have the opportunity if you were Ty Simpson from a weapon standpoint.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh, Pittman, Metcalf.
That's good enough.
Cardinals with Marv, Trey McBride, Michael Wilson. Those seem like better cores than the other 2 teams.
So far, the only known top 30 visits for Ty Simpson are the Cleveland Browns.
The 2 that I didn't want.
And the New York Jets.
Okay.
Well,
we hope not. Actually, maybe we hope so, because if there's a player you're not very excited about, both of these quarterbacks I think are they show enough skill to be successful at the NFL level. But from a fantasy football perspective, we talk about Mendoza is not this prolific runner on the ground, but he's significantly better than Ty Simpson.
Yes.
So Ty Simpson to me is not that important for fantasy. He will be a streaming option at best in his career, even if he's good. If he's good and has a good NFL career, there's plenty of guys like that. Derek Carr had a very long NFL career. He was a streaming option that, you know, this is not a guy you're going to go out and win a fantasy football championship with. I think the only, you know, you've got little bitty baby Diego Pavia, who is probably going to be a day 3 pick, so he'll be irrelevant. But he was
second in Heisman voting.
Yeah, second in Heisman voting, prolific on the ground, 800 rushing yards, good through the air.
I think Nussmeier is probably the most slept on prospect because this was a 4,000-yard passer who I think the expectations were very high this year, and then he got hurt and played through the injury and missed some games. Probably the next on the list of who's going to get drafted in terms of more, you know, he's worked out, I think, for the Jets. I think he's worked out for the Rams, the Colts. So that would be the other name worth mentioning. But these are all flyers in the dark that'll probably emerge never, and it's just not an exciting quarterback
class.
Yeah.
Well, and Taylon Green he broke the combine, right? Am I thinking of the right guy? Yes.
They fixed it though.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to put it back together.
Oh,
it just takes all the king's horses and all the king's men. Out of Arkansas, Taylon Green. What are you groaning about? Jim?
Yeah, the grandpa joke over here.
Oh, you're one to speak.
Yeah, look, I didn't.
You're one.
I didn't hit my boo button. I just felt it in my soul.
You should feel more of them in your soul. Let's talk running backs. Let's turn the page. All right, we have teams that are
Running back. Sorry.
No.
No, there are a
have
handful
some,
of people we
but-
like, but it feels similar to the quarterback where it's like this is extremely top heavy. There is a dude, and this is a weaker running back class, especially coming off of last year where we had some high end talent.
I mean, I feel like it's quarterback. Quarterback is like maybe some impact and then no impact is how it feels. Running back is like big impact, probably a lot of impact behind him, even though it's top heavy, which we're talking about Jeremiyah Love, who's going to go very, very high in this draft. But let's back off of that for a second and just talk about teams that have desperate needs at the running back position that we've identified, that we know about, and how we feel about landing spots right now. Because, you know, at the top of the draft, the Titans, they stick out as a team that like could definitely take Jeremiyah Love, could be the next team to, you know, rework the backfield. Tony Pollard, it's a temporary plan there. You talked about the Giants at 5. They want to be in the conversation, but that's one that's going to get messy, right? Like if you don't necessarily want a running back to go there not named Jeremiyah Love because they're lost in a sea of committee backfield situations.
They don't have a 3rd-round pick either. So if you spend
oh my gosh, you can't do it.
You can't do it.
We're declaring it.
Yes,
I'm
that's
declaring
not
it.
happening.
You're not going to New York.
The Titans will be drafting Jeremiyah Love.
That's what you believe?
I do.
I think the predominant leader in the clubhouse for a lot of people right now is Washington at 7. For Jeremiyah Love. Washington desperately needs a fix at the position. We worked through a lot of different names last year. Some of them are gone now. I mean, he's still there, but Eckler's gone, who played for them, and then Chris Rodriguez, who getting a lot of opportunity, is gone. The Bengals would throw a wrench in the Chase Brown situation if I feel like they would be forced to take Love if he dropped there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because that would be a drop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If he gets to 10, that will be pressure to
There's
draft
no way.
And then kind of going beyond Jeremiyah Love, you'd be starting to look at like Minnesota for the future with Aaron Jones. You'd be looking at Seattle with the absence of Ken Walker.
Seattle is the landing spot of the NFL right now. Like that's the bell of the ball for running backs, not Jeremiyah Love. Jeremiyah Love won't go there. But you look at when you've got a Super Bowl champion team that really, really has a great defense and wants to run the ball, who just lost Kenneth Walker, and then Charbonnet is going to be coming off of an ACL injury, it is the number one landing spot. Like one of these relevant running backs is going to go there. And it might be at pick 32, which is a first-round pick. And if not, pick 64 to the second rounder, that's perfect spot for high draft capital to a running back. And whichever running back they take, I think will end up I really believe
leapfrogging a name ahead of it.
I think that'll be the number 2 drafted running back. They'll probably take someone at 32 or 64, and that will be the number 2 running back after the NFL draft in fantasy rankings.
It's very, very possible. So let's start with the number 1 running back in the class, bar none, Jeremiyah Love, out of Notre Dame, a junior, unbelievable player, 18 touchdowns following a 17-touchdown sophomore season. 1 fumble across his collegiate career, prolific numbers, can catch the football.
Yeah, he hits all of our thresholds in terms of percentage of production for the team. Like, it's green everywhere, and it's green in the receiving game, which is, like, for fantasy almost more important. For like, can this player become a superstar for our purposes in fantasy football? Jeremiyah Love he's really, really, really good.
The draft
He's the next
capital,
great one.
Yes,
the draft capital is going to be good. We were just talking about if he gets to 10, it'll be a surprise, and then the pressure to take him. So whatever team drafts him, will be giving him 3-down workloads. He's 220 pounds, ran a 4.36 40-yard dash. It's just the next tier 1 type of, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, the guys that come out and you're just expecting them to be superstars. That's Jeremiyah Love. The film backs up the metrics. There's really no hole in the game, and I don't look at him and say, like, I would have personally put him behind Bijan as a prospect. And
what about Genty though?
So that's I would put Love ahead of Genty.
Yeah,
because Genty still had the problem of being a Boise State guy.
Yeah,
that was my only big worry at the time. But as a prospect, there's no holes. So you're talking about a guy who's probably gonna sneak into like the back of the first round in startup drafts or in redraft.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there a higher likelihood of that with the Titans or with the Commanders?
Commanders, I think.
Commanders is far more exciting.
Well, I'm so in on the Titans becoming a great team. Yeah,
really?
I believe in Cam Ward already. You know this.
I think it's because you have all of their wide receivers on your dynasty team.
No. I don't think the funny thing is I don't think any of those guys will be relevant for the future. I think they got to fix that position through the draft with additional wide receivers. No, but I believe in Cam Ward and then Brian Daboll being there. I like Robert Saleh. Like, maybe I like the new uniforms too much. I don't know what it is. I just
new shine.
Think how exciting that team is when you put, if it's Cam Ward, Jeremiyah Love.
For the future,
that's a new identity.
Exciting.
There's a lot of hope there.
Yes.
I mean, if Jeremiyah Love goes there, the hopium will be off the charts. But
I'm worried about
there
Washington.
Has to be,
I'm worried about.
I mean, give me Jaden Daniels.
No, I know.
Over Cam Ward.
Sure. If he's on the field, that's true. But what I'm worried about is that head coach, because Dan Quinn is like a Doug Peterson. It is just, it goes worse is how I feel. And you get rid of Cliff Kingsbury. So now the offense is in the hands of the Blobfish. I just feel like the direction of that team, like, it's make or break to me. This year, if Washington goes down again, after the high of the first Jaden Daniels year, which was a really nice schedule.
Wait, did you just call Blau? Is that the Blaufish?
Oh, Dave Blau.
David Blau?
The Blaufish. Yes, that's what.
That's not fair.
That's exactly what I
Don't
said.
do that to David.
No.
He's David Blau. Blau, blah,
It's
blah.
the Blaufish.
Blau, blau.
It's something we always say here on the show.
We're making a vampire joke about David Blau.
The Blaufish. Yeah, like I've always said. I apologize. Detroit has the Blobfish. Washington has the Blaufish.
Yeah. The thing is Dan Quinn, part of the reason that Cliff left is they wanted to run less of a college high passing offense, get under center, run the ball more, which you bring Jeremiyah Love into a team that wants to run the ball more with a better quarterback. Jaden Daniels is better than Cam Ward. I'm really hoping he makes it to Washington.
Yeah, consider me a secret Titans fan.
All right.
now. And not so secret because I said it
you
into
just
the
told
microphone.
hundreds of thousands of people.
So shall we move on from from the best running back into
Now into the question mark
a
area.
murky group of more players.
We are going the order that we're talking about them is not necessarily our order right now. What we
don't
decided,
even say not necessarily.
Yeah.
This is
this is definitely not our order. We are going based on current mock draft database order of expected draft capital. So currently, the most mocked running back to go second, and very well could be the guy taken first after Jeremiyah Love, is his own teammate.
Jadarian Price, Notre Dame, played alongside Jeremiyah Love. I'm curious, you guys, when you went through the film, were there ups and downs to Price's game? Was this whenever there's a committee of backs that are both highly
This was not a committee, though.
Sure.
There was a starter and there was a backup.
Right, but same backfield.
Yes. Teammates.
It can mitigate, obviously, production, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's the number one thing. If he's the backup to the number 4 pick in the draft and the number 7 pick in the draft, he certainly wasn't going to get the kind of workload if he had been the bell cow on another team. So the question is, can he be that bell cow for an NFL franchise? And is there parts of his game, because we didn't get all the production you would have wanted, that we haven't seen yet?
Yeah, I am more skeptical on Jardians, as I refer to him.
You call him Jardians?
Yes.
Like a drug?
From
Yes.
day one. Every time I
Yes,
saw
he
his name, I'm
does.
just like Jardians. But Jadarian Price, aka Jardians, I
don't like it.
I have a really hard time with him. When you watch the film, he is extremely explosive. I mean, he can run away from guys, has a big play potential and big plays on the film all the time. If you just watch the highlights, you're like, oh, this guy is, a missile. However, he is the guy who comes in when Jeremiyah Love is off the field. The defense is taking a breath, and they're going, okay, Jeremiyah Love's off the field. They're not stacking the box and trying to stop the run quite the same. And so I feel like you come in, you get a little bit of easier pickings. It's kind of similar to what we've seen in the NFL and fantasy football, where a guy could be really, really efficient as a backup. But if he then turns around and says, okay, now you're a 3-down guy that the defense is focused on, oh, lo and behold, you don't just stay that efficient and that good. You add that with the fact that this is a guy who doesn't have like a little bit of pass catching in his production profile. He's got borderline none. I mean, his receptions by year were 5, 4, and 6 total receptions. So there's no receiving profile. He was a backup who came in, did well, was really efficient on the ground, and he might be the second guy drafted. This would be a perfect guy who could go to the Seattle Seahawks at pick 32, sneak into the first round. We saw that with one of
and then you fall in love with the opportunity.
Yeah, and then I reserve the right to change my opinion, but currently
Denied.
he is much lower than, to me, on my personal rankings, than a lot of the other running backs that have more of a production profile, had to be the dude and kind of proved more.
Yeah, he is propped up in my rankings right now with the anticipation of draft capital.
Yeah.
Because in draft capital, you don't want to say when you're evaluating these rookies, you can't just put everything at the feet of draft capital, but it's the foundational building block of.
If you did put everything at the feet of draft capital,
you would do better.
You'd do better than
just picking
a lot
your
of
guys.
Yes, exactly.
It matters because that's the investment. That's the coaches. When you have a running back who was drafted in the second round, you're going to want to get that guy in. There's going to be heat from ownership. Get our new kid in. So I'm with Jason of the film. Like, maybe he is the second best running back, and this is not his fault at all. It's just it's the Bijan Roschon Johnson. Roschon Johnson had his fans back at Texas, and like, hey, I think Roschon Johnson can come into his own. Just because he was Bijan, but watch his film. He's good. He's good. Then he ends up being a day 3 pick, and he's gone. Like, Roschon Johnson's career is already done.
Yeah, it's funny because another situation that he ended up having 1 year to prove himself was when Saquon left Penn State and Miles Sanders took over. And Miles Sanders hadn't gotten almost any work, got 1 season to prove it, put up big numbers, didn't really work out in the NFL either, really to the degree that people expected for Miles Sanders. Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb were another combo that played together. It's really hard. I mean, I think whenever a player has limited production, these teams, they don't have a choice, right? They don't get to see another season at the college level, and they could be the smart ones or the dumb ones. But they could see, they have to evaluate on a smaller sample.
I mean, if I was Jardians, I would be coming out for sure.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to go back and
no.
be the dude?
No. Right
It's
now,
hard to go.
in a weak draft class, you might be the second running back
might
taken,
go in the first
and
round.
you don't have to prove nothing.
That would be your style.
Oh, yeah, Jardians. Easy.
We're going to take another break. We'll come back with some more running back names. Okay, the next name we're going to bring up, again, we are not talking about them in our specific order, but in the order, like you said, mock draft database is going into Mike Washington Jr., combine extraordinaire,
a senior at Arkansas.
Don't do not say the combine doesn't matter.
Right. Yes.
Because the reason Mike Washington is here as the running back 3 is 100% because of his performance at the combine. Because he was not here in mock drafts.
Are you talking about his 4.3 340-yard dash and 99th percentile speed score?
It is extremely impressive.
96th percentile explosiveness.
He ran a 4.33. He's 223 pounds.
He ran what Jahmyr Gibbs ran with another little person on him. The combine measurables, he is an athletic freak.
Yes.
His production profile.
Our producer Matt was actually on his shoulders while he ran.
Yeah. The production profile is pretty good. I mean, you had his final year over 1,000 yards on the ground. This is in the SEC. He had 28 receptions.
Yeah, that's a great number for college.
Those are all very good. The issue is that came after 5 years. You know, sometimes when these older running backs and older
he had 10 years worth of fumbles.
Yes. Definitely a fumbling problem. 11 fumbles in the last 2 seasons. This is a player who sometimes you just go, well, when you are older and a super athlete like this, and that's when you start beating up on these young.
You better.
You better
the crap out of them.
Beat these 18-year-olds out there. The thing is now because of that combine, it looks like he is going to have decent draft capital, and if he's a day 2 pick, that matters. You've also got the ability to catch, the ability to be a larger body.
What's his height?
He's 5'11". Yeah, he's basically 6 feet.
Okay,
6 foot.
Basically, like you're basically 6 feet, or basically like actually 6 feet.
I don't ever say I'm 6. I am exactly 5'11", and everybody that's 5'11" says they're 6 feet. I don't. I am
you take
actually
pride in
5'11".
that and then not saying that?
Yes, because it ruins us 5'11"ers because y'all think we're faking 6
Nobody
feet.
pays attention to you guys.
I know.
Are you 5'11"?
I am 5'11".
Oh my gosh! If it
Shoes
was 5'10",
off,
if it
5'11".
was 5'10", I'd love it.
I don't know.
I mean, wait another decade.
That's what I'm saying. The ultimate Jason
If I
Moore.
was 5'10" and I took that line, that would be an amazing misdirection.
Just soapboxing. I don't ever round up to 6 feet. I'm 5'11".
No one would ever doubt you being 5'11".
Yeah, and you shouldn't, because I'm 5'11".
Don't check.
He will never check again. Listen, there's a couple things here with Mike Washington, and I guess any of these running backs at this point in the draft it gets more and more complicated, right? Where if there's not like in our minds, there's not a clear-cut number 2, right?
Well, there is in mine.
Okay, and
we haven't talked about him
just say
yet.
who yours is.
Jonah Coleman, I really, really like.
Jonah Coleman's my number 2 as well.
Okay, so you guys both have him there.
And that
So
was,
I'll remove
we
the
independently got Jonah Coleman. When our process starts, we say, "Hey, did you watch this player?" And I say, "No, I haven't watched him." That's the end of the conversation.
We don't share notes
because I don't want to influence at all. I'll be like, "Hey, look for this. Look for this." It's just so we both ended up on Jonah Coleman.
You have a number 2,
and watch like my notes on Mike Washington they're not good. My film evaluation, I thought he's a fine player. When I got his combine numbers, it blew me away. That I'm like, really?
How? Yeah.
I'm like, this is not the player that I was seeing when I was watching him actually play football.
1,000 yards and 28 receptions is really good, but at 220 pounds, running 4.33, you should be having this.
What's his age?
Absurd. He's got to be older because
he'll be 23
he played
pretty soon.
5 years.
Yeah, he had 5 years in college. Arkansas this year before it was New Mexico State. It's tough because all of these guys, depending on the draft capital, you also have to now look at the team and say, will they give this guy I might believe in or who was a combine breakout an opportunity sufficient for fantasy? That's the discussion and the evaluation we have to make. And not to pick on one player, but like Caleb Johnson's a good example of like, it wasn't bad draft capital, but then you have to win the lottery twice, right? You got to get through the draft capital lottery, then you got to get through the backfield ensemble. And will a team give you an opportunity or will you be part of a committee? And that's where a lot of our rankings are going to change. You guys have Jonah Coleman in right now, number 2. We're all ahead of the draft. If a team, you mentioned Seattle, takes Jadarian Price at 32 and Coleman goes at the back of the front of the third round, you're probably changing your rankings.
Absolutely. The rankings will this year more than most years because you kind of have this nebulous RB2. No one knows who the second running back is going to be drafted after Jeremiyah Love, and it could really be one of like 5 different players, and it wouldn't shock anyone.
Like, isn't Price pretty much been there though?
He has been there from the beginning. I think that
other than him, I don't know who's going next.
Yeah,
but I feel like Price is probably 2 or 3 at worst.
Yeah, I mean he'll. I mean, probably, yeah,
so.
Maybe.
We'll get surprised. Maybe Mike Washington will go out there with his Darius Hayward Bay impression and get himself a top spot.
And so back to Mike Washington of just reviewing the film, he was in the 40th percent.
Review that
I
film.
did hear it too.
Whatever.
He's done with us.
I'm trying to give numbers, guys. He was in the 40th percentile for forced missed tackle rate, as in this is not good. This is a big, strong, athletic player who's not making defenders miss. He graded out as he's the lowest graded pass blocker per Pro Football Focus of this running back class. And
fumbles a lot.
And he fumbles a lot. Like, yeah, I don't want my running back pass blocking. I want him out there catching passes. But I want my running back to get on the field, and part of that is you got to be able to do all these other things. So when the combine numbers hit, I got real pumped. I was real excited. I was like, okay, so we have a standout here. So I moved him up the ranks and then went back into everything, and I said, no, I'm not gonna extra count this athleticism when all the other metrics that I care about and my film evaluation are not matching up.
What do you guys want to talk about your number 2?
Yes, sir.
Jonah Coleman. Jonah Coleman is both of your number 2. He's 4 on my rankings right now. Tell me why you love him.
So Jonah Coleman, he passes the eye test to me, breaks a lot of tackles, had breakaway plays over and over and over for a player who is not he didn't do any testing. Even at the pro day, he wasn't going to run a 40, which I think will hurt his draft capital. That's why he's been falling a little bit in mock drafts. But he's got enough active burst and speed to make plays happen. His pass catching to me is an incredible gift. It's what I love to see. His hands are made of glue. He can be in the middle of a pile of players and the quarterback can rifle the ball to him 5 feet away and it just sticks and it's unconscious. So I love that as a pass catcher. He's not doing the thing where he's got to think about catching the ball. It's just second nature to him. So I love him as a pass catcher. He's also kind of a bowling ball type of player. And even though he's got a ton of touchdowns in his profile, which is one of the stickiest stats to translate to fantasy football success, is running backs having rushing touchdowns in college. He had 25 rushing touchdowns the last 2 years. So you've got someone that can score around the goal line and catch the ball. He is a very, very intelligent player. His pass blocking grade is great. He talks about how he wants to be on the field all 3 downs. It's just that he checks the boxes that matter for fantasy football to me.
What about the rushing production? Because, I mean, you look at, you compare what Price did as a backup, certifiable backup to Jeremiyah Love. Price had 11 touchdowns. Price had almost 700 rushing yards. Jonah Coleman did have a dip in his efficiency in the last 3 years on the ground.
And other players on the team were taking work.
6'8" to 5'5" to 4'9", though. If you're dipping in work, just to go back to the argument about efficiency, it doesn't quite add up for Jonah Coleman on the ground there, where we like to see overwhelming effectiveness and efficiency in that final year. I mean, he played
2 years
12
ago.
games.
2 years ago, it was better for him, over 1,000 rushing yards, 23 receptions. He got more involved in the passing game this year, less so on the ground. I went game by game, through the game log, and it was kind of a situation where there were some games he really took over, and then some games where I don't know if he got injured in the game or whatnot, but a little bit disappeared. But on the film and most of the metrics, he's he's good enough to me to at least have a shot. Now, if he ends up being a day 3 pick, poof, vanished.
I feel like the reception profile is something that's really drawing you to him.
Yes, the receptions, the rushing touchdowns, and the film. Those 3 things. I really liked what I saw in film. And his scheme fit is perfect for Seattle. He is playing in Washington, so that franchise is very familiar with Jonah Coleman over the last couple of years. And the 32 or 64 pick, if they take Jonah Coleman, I will be freaking excited.
Yeah. He's 5'8", 220, by the way, if we didn't say it.
And he has
that is a
thick,
bowling ball.
That's a bowling ball.
Yeah, a thing I really look for is a player's contact balance, and he has it. I mean, there's guys who are 5'8", 220 who get knocked over. Guys bounce off of him, and he really remains, just grounded. And so the fact that he has such high marks in that with the pass catching for me, it keeps him at number 2 until
further notice. Yeah. Last name we'll mention at running back is Emmett Johnson. He's a player that I really liked on film.
Production monster.
Yeah, I mean, he was 1,451 rushing yards last year, 12 touchdowns, 46 receptions. He was my, outside of Love, on film, he was my favorite running back.
He has the most fun running style. Like my notes on him are just how he's got one move. He could do it in both directions, but it's like this little herky-jerky, little jump cut to the left or to the right, and it works every single time.
He has a weird, it reminds me a little bit of the Adrian Peterson run of he's really using that upper body to make himself go faster. Sure. He's like, I run with my arms.
Yes,
yeah.
totally.
And I'll be honest, he's at 3 for me on my rankings. Right now, my rankings are Love, Price, Emmett.
Okay.
Now,
Emmett.
So he's ahead. Now he's 4 because you said that. No, he's at 3 for me because of the combine performance. To me, it betrayed the things you saw in film. You just talked about the herky-jerky, the move that always works, and here he comes out at the combine. Not only is he slower than he expected to be at the combine, 28th percentile speed score, 4.56, but he was 6% in quickness and 3-cone drill and 20-yard shuttle. So I don't know if this was a bad day.
That's got to be a bad day.
I mean, it just feels like he hurt himself a lot at the combine.
Yeah, he did.
Which, look, if you do that, your opportunities are going to dwindle in terms of draft capital opportunities and teams that are going to count on you to be the dude. That's my biggest worry right now. I feel like the arrow's pointing down, despite on film alone, me being the most impressed with Emmett Johnson at Nebraska. Like you said, the production was out of control, and he can catch the football. I love that. I don't know what happened at the combine.
Yeah, I like this. It's ironic because my notes on him, I really, really liked watching him play. It was fun, but I wasn't sure if his athleticism was good enough to allow like this move that he has that gets these college guys every time. I didn't know if that was going to translate and be successful in the NFL. So then you combine that with the poor combine performance, and that was some of my fear. He's a guy that basically
how far
touched
down
the ball.
is he for you guys?
He's my number 4.
4. Yeah. Okay.
I still like him, and I've got Jardion's currently at 8, which is low, and he will.
You have him at 8?
Yeah, he will without a doubt go up. There's a couple other guys that maybe we won't get into specifically.
Yeah, just throw a couple names.
I really like Nick Singleton.
You did
for fantasy football.
Boy, he's boring to me.
Yeah, sure, and Mike doesn't like him at all either.
Kate, I don't love.
He would love to grow up and become Charbonnet.
I didn't love either of the Penn State guys, but I preferred Allen over Singleton when I watched.
Yeah, for me this is a matter. Yeah, for me, this is a matter of if you're telling me that there's a guy out there who, 45 rushing touchdowns and over 100 receptions in college, who is 220 pounds. Like, okay, a big body back who gets touchdowns and catches passes. I'm just a sucker for fantasy football things.
He doesn't. Yeah, it's not flashy, but his production.
And that's Nick Singleton.
Yes.
Nicholas.
Yeah, and the being a sucker is Adam Randall for me.
Oh yeah,
out of Clemson. He had a good breakout age, or not, well, an okay breakout age, but he's listed
was
as
subpar. No,
he is he's
weird.
He's a unique prospect because for 3 years at Clemson he was a wide receiver.
who did nothing.
And he could not really get anything sustained on the field. And then they move him to running back for his last year. So he's brand new to the position.
What's the size?
He's a monster.
Gigantic.
He's 6'3", 232.
What was he doing out there at wide receiver?
What's he doing at running back? You know, a lot of 6'3",
I guess the
232.
6'3" part is the tight end. It is.
And he ran a 4.5, but because of his size, that puts him in the 91st percentile for speed score. And he's just, because he's a converted wide receiver, you know that he at least has solid hands for a running back.
Caught 36 passes.
36 passes the last year, 168 carries, 814 yards on the ground. I don't know if he'll make any type of noise in the NFL draft, but when a player makes the move to running back from the wide receiver position and they get drafted,
and he's gigantic,
you almost always get at least a couple years of something pretty good for fantasy.
I'm completely with you on him. He is the current sleeper pick that I'm most excited about.
That'll do it for today's episode of the show. On Thursday, we'll jump into the most exciting position, I think, in the draft, top to bottom, the wide receivers. And we'll talk some tight ends as well. Looking forward to it. This was fun. It's nice to have these names out there. They're going to be household names before you know it.
Very soon.
And we'll have to decide where we pick them and what we believe. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Check out ultimatedraftkit.com.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.